What's it like to have this? You're trying to just obtain some reasonable accommodation, to have your daughter attend school. You're trying to go through all the medical channels, trying to do everything right. And yet, for some reason, you're simply being excluded.
Yeah. You want to elaborate on that? Or?
Well, I think she's very sad. She wants to be with her friends. She wants to be able to do in-person school. We're doing a small amount of work at home that the teacher's temporarily giving us until we have a diagnosis for her, is what the teacher had said. It's tough, she wants to run and play, and she loves her teacher, and it just feels like she's being punished for a medical condition that she has no control over and that nobody's taking seriously.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News, and today I'm going to be bringing you a story, a truly frustrating story. An 8-year-old excluded from her education because of her sensory requirements prohibiting her from wearing a mask. She has issues and is not comfortable wearing a mask. Now, for much of 2021, she had a doctor's note and there was no issue and she attended school. When she returned to school in the new year with the same exemptions in place, the school noted that her prescription or her exemption from the doctor to not wear masks should technically only be valid for 2021 and that she needed another one. This is absolutely unthinkable, but the family went to the doctor and sought to seek a new note. AHS had been coming down so hard on doctors that this doctor was now afraid to issue a new note. This girl was excluded from her education. For more on the story, we're going to touch base with the family right away. So I guess first off, for the folks out there maybe not familiar with this story, if you just introduce yourselves and we can have a conversation about what's happened after that.
My name is Dan Phairs. This is my wife, Rebecca, and my daughter, Ebony. It basically starts with the fact that she was kicked out of school for not wearing a mask. Starting in the new year, but she did have a mask exemption up to that point that temporarily expired. She suffers from sensory issues where she can't have certain things against her face, on her body. Clothes are just a nightmare. She'll go through 8-10 changes of clothes till she finds something that's comfortable on her. Shoes and socks. She was wearing sandals the other day because couldn't find a pair of socks that would work for her. She suffers from sensory issues to smells. It can really set her off. We went out for her birthday there a couple weeks ago, and we had to leave the restaurant. It was she couldn't be in there, and we weren't gonna just make her sit through that because it was definitely traumatizing to her. What else? Sounds, yes. Sounds. If we're in someplace loud, we got to leave. She just can't handle it. It really affects her basically her mood. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think all of those things are things that people should embrace and accept you just as you are and try to make some accommodations so that you can be comfortable. And I think it's very sad that the school has not done that. As you mentioned, there was this exemption in place. This was clearly already vetted by a doctor. And then suddenly with a new year rolling around, the school seemingly has acted as though that somehow these issues should have simply gone away because this letter is no longer in place. What has the experience been like from the school? And it's now been, I believe, 3 weeks plus the 2 weeks from the break that you've missed out on your schooling. And I imagine it's probably nice to be with your friends and be at school. What has the experience been like and the exclusion based on this medical necessity?
Well, I guess we should go back to the start. Back at the start of the year, August 26th, was it, that they came out and said masks would not be required. And we knew about this issue, and we had written letters before that to superintendent and trustees just to, say, we don't want the masks happening for our kids, And that was fine. They said it wasn't going to happen. 3 days before school, they said it was going to happen, but that they would give us, what was it, an exemption from the school?
A mask exemption request from RVS was acceptable at that point. And then that suddenly changed about, I think, 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
To need a medical mask exemption.
Yeah. So we got a hold of our doctor. We made an appointment, seen the doctor. That's when we got the temporary exemption. And that was fine. I thought maybe the mask thing would die off in the schools by this time, but obviously not. I made an appointment with the doctor again, long before it expired, to see if we could get another exemption, at least push it out to the end of the year, you know.
End of the school year.
Yeah, you know, and that at that point, that's when she said she would not grant us one. But if a pediatrician would back her up, she would sign on to one. So a good week, 2 weeks went by. I hadn't heard from her. And then she finally calls back and says, pediatrician will not grant it, won't put his name to it, unless she'd have severe autism or something along those lines. And so obviously the doctor at that point wasn't going to put her name on it. So. And then we're into Christmas time, trying to figure out what to do. And then they go back in the new year. Basically, at that point, the only thing I could do is write a letter to the school explaining what is happening with her. And they didn't return my letter. I don't even think they read it. And so I took her to school that morning. And then I went to the principal's office to talk to her. And we had a discussion about it, and I told her what I thought. And in the end, she says, if she's not wearing a mask, she can't be here. So at that point, they went and grabbed her from her. She was running around the gym playing with the kids, and I had to take her home. So.
And it seems such a bizarre, concerted effort, particularly knowing that there already was a doctor-confirmed note with an exemption saying there are these sensory issues. It's almost as though they're implying they don't exist anymore. And it's not, you're not trying to play games here. You're not trying to make a political point. You're just trying to ensure that your daughter can attend school normally, just like anybody else. There is some sentiment among doctors that even if they feel that at one point they might have issued a note, now there's pressures to not grant exceptions under any sort of condition. Is that kind of the message you're getting as well?
Definitely the message we're getting. And it should be up to the doctors to determine, and not up to the government to say if your kid gets an exemption from this or not. So, yeah.
And what has sort of the emotional toll been like on a family? Obviously, you just want the very best for your daughter. I imagine you probably want to get back to school. What's it like to have this? You're trying to just obtain some reasonable accommodation to have your daughter attend school. You're trying to go through all the medical channels, trying to do everything right. And yet, for some reason, you're simply being excluded.
Yeah. Do you want to elaborate on that? Or?
Well, I think she's very sad. You know, she wants to be with her friends. She wants to be able to do in-person school. We're doing a small amount of work at home that the teacher's temporarily giving us until we have a diagnosis for her, is what the teacher had said. It's tough, you know, she wants to run and play, and she loves her teacher, and it just feels like she's being punished for a medical condition that she has no control over and that nobody's taking seriously.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that this is happening to you. I think you should be allowed to go back to school. I don't think this is fair at all. I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with this. As a parent myself, I know how hard it is. You're just trying to take care of your family, trying to take care of your daughter, do the best you can. It's sad that we've come to a place in this world where something as reasonable as this story, something as reasonable as wanting your daughter to go to school and not wear a mask because of some issues that everyone should be willing to make accommodations for. The government not even requiring that the school do this, but for some reason they're just simply insistent. We're hoping that this story can bring some attention to this. If really quickly before we wrap up, you have said that there has been some support and some movement from some people.
There's been support through the community people calling the school board office and sending emails and talking to people. Our MLA, Peter Guthrie, has been great. He sent out a letter to the health minister and to the school board and to the superintendent, asking that these rules be changed, especially in light of it not being mandated by the government. So he would like to see her get back into school as well as us. So yeah, he's been really helpful.
That's great. Well, we certainly hope that maybe some more politicians will see this, will help get the message out for people out there who are concerned. Is there any sort of support they can offer, or any thoughts for your family, for people out there who may want to help out?
Well, if you don't like to see this type of stuff, contact your MLA. Talk to your school board superintendents. Call your trustees. A lot of them behind the scenes are definitely on the same thought process that these kids should be in school without being masked up. So if they're seeing support from the community, they'll probably change their tunes.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. I know it's a difficult time and a difficult circumstance. We're going to continue to follow this, so keep us posted. We're happy to come out and chat with you again. Hopefully we can get some progress. We're not here just to tell this story. We're here to get some results for you guys. So thanks so much for sharing this with us. Happy we could be here with you. And I hope you get to go back very soon to your school. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. For everyone out there at home, thank you so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos. The world has seemingly gone mad. Children are being excluded from their educations. People are being terminated from their jobs despite sterling work records, all in the name of vaccine mandates. Well, we are fighting back, and if you want to chip in, you can make a donation at fightvaccinepassports.com. All of those funds go to the Democracy Fund and are used for the legal fight against these ridiculous vaccine mandates.